Well, Sean, Democrats continue to knock President Trump and Republicans for questioning the accuracy of these Dominion voting machines and others that have been used in some parts of the country. But check out this letter from Democrats in 2019, warning of the problem that threatened election integrity before. In 2018 alone, voters in South Carolina were reporting machines that switched their votes after they'd inputted them. Scanners were rejecting paper ballots in Missouri, and busted machines were causing long lines in Indiana. In addition, researchers recently uncovered previously undisclosed vulnerabilities in nearly 36 back-end election systems in 10 states. Sean, get this. This letter was signed by Senator Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Ron Wyden. So these people were talking about this a year ago. People were listening, and now all of a sudden, that doesn't exist.
Those people, I think, are all Democrats, aren't they?
Let me check. Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. That was some pretty strong language they used, vulnerabilities in several machines in 10 states. And yet, if you listen to them now, these allegations are crazy. The New York Times, that talked about fraud as well, now says that Trump's team is crazy.
Yeah,
but
you're a conspiracy theorist.
They weren't crazy when Republicans when Democrats were doing well. It seems like the side that they take depends on who's winning the election.
That is exactly right, Sean, because if anybody would have listened to Senator Warren back in 2019, they would have said, oh, maybe there is reason for concern. We know that a lot of people were saying that. And now, all of a sudden, there's no reason for concern at all.
Don't you think maybe some of these people who call themselves reporters or journalists would go up to her and say, you sent this letter a year ago. A, did you get any answers? B, are you still concerned? That's
a great idea.
What a reporter would do.
I would hope so, but we haven't seen that, Sean.
Well, you know what we can do? We don't have any reporters with us, but we do have Oklahoma Senator and member of the Senate Homeland Security and Finance and Appropriations Committee, Senator James Lankford. Senator, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be able to be with you. Let me add one more thing to that.
Okay.
In 2017, Democrats complained over and over again that the Russians stole the election.
Yes.
With no proof that a single vote was changed. But for 4 years, all I've heard over and over again is the Russians stole the elections. The Russians stole the elections. But I never remember seeing a reporter walking up to one of those Democratic senators or House members saying, what is your evidence for that? Do you have any evidence? And of course, they had none and never did have, though we spent hundreds of millions of dollars in investigations from Pelosi's house digging through that. But somehow that never seems to come up.
I mean, I do find it interesting. Lyndsay and I were talking about this yesterday with, Speaker Pelosi talked about the 2016 election on Twitter. She said that was stolen from them and that there was fraud there. Then the New York Times put a story out talking about fraud. Now, several of your colleagues on the Democratic side, I mean, they sent this letter. Do you know if they ever got an answer and if anyone's followed up with them to find out if they still share these concerns?
Yeah, I have no idea on that one. It is interesting, though, that they'll challenge all of these election results until it seems to go their way. Then they'll say, move along, nothing to see here, and don't want to be able to discuss it from here. But that's it. We're used to that. We get it. But the issue is still the same. They can't just say there's massive election interference in 2016 and do that for 4 years and then say President Trump doesn't have the right to go to court for a couple of weeks to be able to ask legitimate questions. It's not. It's hypocritical and it's not rational.
Yeah, and if we had a media that actually did their job, they might be asking them I would love to know, do you still believe that, right? And I think that would be a legitimate question that a legitimate reporter would ask a United States senator. But apparently, because it wouldn't help the Biden case, they can't ask those questions. Senator, you have been chairman Lankford for a while in various capacities. And if you want to stay chairman, then that means that Republicans need to do well down in Georgia. This is going to decide who controls Congress. Andrew Yang, who ran for president on the Democratic side, tweeted out that want to help Georgia win both seats.org sends money to 16 community organizations to help get out the vote. Who wants Mitch McConnell calling the shots? Not me. We can help demote him on January 5th in Georgia. I think the question is this is not just a normal race. This is what's at stake, what the agenda's at stake. To folks that don't grasp the totality of who's in charge, what would you say to them?
So let me just lay the scenario out. It looks like Nancy Pelosi is going to keep the House of Representatives. If Joe Biden ends up winning this election, and if that carries through that he wins the election at this point, which is obviously still up in the air, now we have a Senate that's up in the air where it's 50 to 48 right now. The 2 Senate seats in Georgia, if Joe Biden wins the election, will determine if that ends up being a 50-50 race in the Senate. Kamala Harris steps in as the tie-breaking vote. and then Chuck Schumer is the head of the Senate. And at that point, Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the White House. They can run whatever agenda that they want to be able to run. And we've heard it all, that they want Green New Deal, they want to change immigration law, they want to make Washington, D.C. a state, they want to defund the military, they want to defund the police. And they keep saying, no, we're just letting Georgia be Georgia and express all this. But they can't run from Chuck Schumer saying in New York the day after the election, we take Georgia, we'll change America. They have a very clear agenda to be able to get these 2 Senate seats. And this is a moment where all of America is going to look at Georgia, because Georgia is going to determine the direction of the country.
100%. Let me just get you on record on this. There is no question in your mind, is there, that if Chuck Schumer were to get those other 2 seats, he would get rid of the filibuster right away, correct?
Yeah, no question. He would challenge the filibuster. He's not going to try to pack the courts. He's going to try to pack the Senate as well, to be able to add Washington, D.C. as a new state, and to try to ram that through as well, to pick up 2 new Democratic senators. So this becomes a big issue for us. Drop the filibuster immediately. Do whatever we want unrestrained.
I forgot about the D.C. one, but you're absolutely right. They would jam that thing through, make sure that they got not just the House of Representatives seats, that D.C. would get that one, but then they'd give themselves 2 more senators, and it would be an uphill climb to get out of that hole. So I think you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I know one of the big contentious issues right now, at least for folks in the media that won't ask the questions that seem important, but the one question that they keep harping on is the fact that Joe Biden isn't getting these presidential daily briefings that he'd get if he were the official president-elect before, if President Trump stepped aside or allowed him to be the nominee, or the president-elect. Where do you come down on that? I know that there was a bit of discussion earlier about whether or not he should get him or not. You now have come out and said that you're not in a hurry to give Joe Biden those intelligence briefings. Is that accurate to where you stand right now?
No, it's not. And that's half a quote that's taken from that. CNN got all excited thinking that I was somehow flipping and pushing on the president and everything else several weeks ago when I said, I think that Joe Biden should get the intel briefings. Many people don't know he's been receiving intel briefings now for months. Joe Biden started receiving intel briefings as soon as he got the Democratic nomination. So last summer, he started receiving these briefings. He gets them every single day. Now, they ended at Election Day. I think he should continue to get them because we're still in the campaign mode. He's still candidate Joe Biden. Both sides receive the briefings. That is the normal standard of what we do as a country. That's what Donald Trump got when he was a candidate. He was receiving briefings all the way up until he was president-elect, and then obviously that shifted over for him on that. Right. Joe Biden's not president-elect. He's just private citizen Joe Biden, but he should be receiving the same briefings
that he got
now
as a candidate.
that he was receiving during the summer, because we shouldn't cut him off in that sense, is what I'm saying, because we still don't know who's going to be the next president. So we've got 2 horses in the race. We need to keep both of them prepared for the national security side.
Makes sense. And I can't believe that CNN cut that off of you. That's crazy that they would do something like that. Shocking. I want to shift back to Georgia for 1 second. There are these rumors that that was in the San Francisco headline that said that Californians prepared to descend on Georgia to fight for Democrats in the Senate. Do you think, obviously, I get people from out of state come to help out candidates, that makes sense. But there is a line, don't you think, between coming in and helping and trying to register to vote there, correct?
Yep, there's a huge line on that. That's against Georgia law. If you don't intend to actually be a resident there, it's against the law, and you can be prosecuted for just shifting over, living in a hotel room, registering like you're a Georgia resident, and then to be able to vote. That's what Democrats are talking about doing, is literally just going there short term, pretend I'm a resident. They have very open registration requirements in Georgia. And so people literally could do this, but it is against the law to do that. If you're not intending to actually be a long-term resident in Georgia, you cannot register to vote. And so these Democrats encouraging their fellow liberals around the country to go violate the law is one more thing that we need to pay attention to.
I hope everybody does, because that's you bring that up. That's so crucial. Before I let you go, and I apologize for trying to jam you, but I just want to make sure, in your opinion, is the government going to continue to get funded? I know that there's some question about funding running out and then Congress needing to act. Do you think that's going to happen?
No, I think we are going to get funding done. We've got the 12 appropriation bills queued up in the Senate. The House, we've got ongoing negotiations right now to be able to get it done. I actually have a bill that ends government shutdowns forever, and it takes that off the table. It's a very straightforward way to be able to do it, to be able to make Congress do its job and hold the American people harmless, because the American people are always confused, like, why are we having another government shutdown over a fight? There are lots of budget fights we have in D.C. We should have those fights, but we shouldn't punish the American people.
Right.
Let the fight stay here.
All right. Congressman Jim Lankford, thank you, sir, for joining us. I appreciate it, and look forward to having you back soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.